Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. And without objection, I would ask that we suspend the rules to provide this city council meeting be held via video and telephone conference in accordance with Governor Whitmer's Executive Order 2020-15, and that participation of no less than 4 council members on this conference call constitutes a quorum for purposes of conducting this meeting pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. Additionally, due to the current state of emergency and without objection, I would like to suspend the rules to allow public comment germane to any agenda item or city business to be provided via Zoom telephone conference during communications from citizens at the following telephone number: 929-205-6099. When prompted, residents should enter the following meeting number: 44199-775 and press pound. You do not need to enter a passcode. Procedurally, in order to facilitate an orderly meeting by video and telephone conferencing, I ask that if any of my colleagues want the floor to make or second a motion, please unmute yourself and ask for the floor. This will allow me to identify you. And in case 2 council members speak over one another, I will make the final call on who has the floor. Also, council members are reminded to have their devices on mute when not talking to limit interference and refrain from watching the meeting online due to the slight broadcast delay. All votes of the city council tonight will be by roll call vote conducted by the city clerk. If there is any objection to proceeding in the manner I've outlined, please ask for the floor now. Hearing no objection, I will stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance on behalf of the City Council so that it can be heard clearly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Riska, will you please proceed by reciting the invocation?
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Riska. Can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor,
Participating.
Mrs. Sarosky,
Participating.
Mrs. Koski,
Participating.
Mr. Radke,
Participating.
Mrs. Schmidt,
Participating.
Mr. Yanez,
Participating.
Mrs. Yarko.
Participating.
Thank you, Ms. Riska. Council, we need approval of tonight's agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Deanna Koski, please proceed.
move to approve the agenda.
It's been moved. Is there a second, council?
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Sarowski.
I support and move to second that motion, please.
Okay, the motion to approve the agenda has been moved and supported. Ms. Riska, can we please have a roll call vote?
Mrs. Schmidt,
Yes.
Mrs. Sarosky,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Yanez,
Yes.
Mrs. Yarko,
Yes.
Mrs. Koski,
Yes.
Mr. Radke.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Next item on our agenda tonight is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'd like to begin by providing an update to our ongoing emergency response to the COVID-19 crisis. City personnel continue to operate remotely to ensure local government services continue. If individuals have any questions about services, including but not limited to event and programming cancellations, permit issuance, social gatherings, and the enforcement of such, you can email the city at cityhall@sterling-heights.net. And we have personnel monitoring that email address, and we'll make sure we get back to you as quickly as possible. We have had strong support from the business community and essential service operations to ensure they are deploying social distancing guidelines. There have been a couple of exceptions that we've addressed successfully. Our enforcement personnel are continuing to monitor businesses as necessary. Likewise, police officers, along with park personnel, are monitoring parks and dispersing crowds as necessary. All park amenities remain closed, and cones have been placed in major park parking lots, allowing parking in every other space. While it's impossible to close all the parks, these measures are helping, but we continue to request that residents voluntarily comply with distancing guidelines. Sterling Heights PD does have the authority now to issue a $1,000 fine for any non-compliance. We're hoping we don't have to do that, but the governor has given local policing jurisdictions that authority. Police and first responders continue to respond to 911 calls as required, and personnel levels are sufficient to handle the call volume. Related to the emergency on the consent agenda this evening are 3 important items. The first is a resolution amending the schedule and adoption of the fiscal year 2021 budget. Under the revised schedule, the budget process will be delayed by about 30 days to enable administration to continue focusing on the COVID-19 emergency response. Upon passage of the resolution this evening, the budget will be submitted to City Council on Friday, May 1st. The budget and related appropriations ordinance will be presented by the Budget and Finance Director at the June 2nd City Council meeting. A budget public hearing will be held at the June 16th City Council meeting, followed by adoption of the budget. The new fiscal year will then begin on July 1st, 2020. The second resolution on the consent agenda this evening extends the emergency declaration executed by the mayor on March 13th until midnight on May 13th. The city manager can cancel the emergency sooner if warranted, but we believe this is highly unlikely. The third resolution on the consent agenda is the action required to designate the Macomb Daily as the alternate official city newspaper for publication of legal notices and advertisements. The Century, as you may know, has suspended hard copy delivery of their newspaper during this crisis while still providing online publications. Knowing the Macomb Daily is still providing delivery services, this action is thus required. So that's the latest update with respect to the crisis that's ongoing from the city's perspective. On my report this evening, I also want to give an update and highlight that a countywide program to treat the gypsy moth infestation will be taking place in early to mid-May. An aerial application of BTK will be used to reduce the high populations of gypsy moth caterpillars at sites that have heavy infestation affecting the long-term health of the impacted trees. The spray substance is not harmful to humans, pets, vegetation, or other wildlife. The area in Sterling Heights that will be treated coming up here very soon is in and around the Franklin Park area, which is just south of 18 Mile Road, north of 17, and between DeQuinder and Ryan. Notices will be provided via direct mail to individuals through the Michigan State University Extension Office, which is coordinating the applications countywide. And Mayor, that's all I have on my report this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the updates tonight, Mr. Vanderpool. Appreciate that. Next on our agenda tonight is the consent agenda. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion? Council.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Koski, please proceed.
move to approve the consent agenda.
Council, is there a second?
Mayor Taylor?
Councilwoman Zarco, do you second the motion?
Yes.
Consent agenda has been moved and supported. Ms. Riska, could we please have a roll call vote?
Mrs. Sarowski,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Yanez,
Yes.
Mrs. Yarko,
Yes.
Mrs. Kosky,
yes,
Mr. Radke,
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Riska, and thank you, council. Next item on our agenda tonight is communications from citizens. And as noted at the beginning of the meeting, communications from citizens will be entirely via telephone conference tonight. All members of the public will be muted until called upon. And those remaining on the phone right now who wish to participate will be recognized in turn, and that person will be asked whether they want to participate. If you are on, and let me check, there's not many people on as of the last time I looked. It looks like we have one person, okay? So to the one person that is still on the meeting line, when I prompt you, if you would like to make a comment, you can announce your name and you'll have 4 minutes to make comments. If you do not want to speak, you can just remain silent, and I'll give you a few seconds, or you can say pass, and that is all that you'll need to do. So I'm going to go to you, caller, whose last 4 digits of our phone number 1373. I'm going to unmute you. Caller, do you have any comment that you'd like to make under the public comment section of this meeting? Okay, I just for the record want to note that caller with the phone number ending 1373 was unmuted and I heard no response. And so that is really it in terms of in terms of communications from citizens tonight. I see no other, and I'm double checking. I see no one else on the line. So with that, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is reports from city administration. Mr. Vanderpool, anything for tonight?
Mayor, I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. For reports from city council members, please remember, if you would like the floor, if you have any comments to, actually, Mr. Koszybski, I'll go to you. Any items tonight, Mr. Koszybski?
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Koszybski. So council, if you want the floor, please unmute yourself, ask for the floor. I will call on you, and then you can give your reports and ask any questions. We do have Police Chief Dale Dwojciechowski and Fire Chief Chris Martin on the conference tonight and are available to answer any council questions. So I'll open it up to my colleagues. Is there anyone who'd like the floor?
Mayor Taylor?
Mayor Pro Tem Sarowski.
Yes, so thank you very much. I just wanted to reach out to the citizens and encourage them to continue shelter in place. Make sure that you are wearing a mask. We are, as medical professionals, we really appreciate that many people are making masks and wearing the cloth masks or scarves, because that really does provide us with the needed equipment. I finally have enough N95s for my 25 nurses. That just happened this week. So that equipment was very near and dear to us. So thank you very much, everyone, for really doing your part, staying together in this fight, and making sure that we are staying as sheltered in place as possible. One side note, as you're wearing your masks or your gloves, make sure that you're disposing of them in a trash bag that you bring with you if you've gone to the store. Do not dispose of them on the floor of the store, on the outside. And I stopped by Myers 2 weeks ago. This is 2 weeks ago, and there were 5 gloves on my way into that store. So I'm hoping, I know that it's gotten worse, and I'm hoping that you guys and everyone understands that that will only spread the virus. It will not improve it. So just because it's not touching your hands doesn't mean it's not contaminating the ground. Please remember to take care of yourself and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sarowski. Councilwoman Maria Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. At this point, I would just like to acknowledge and thank all of our first responders. They have really stepped up to the plate and put themselves in the line of fire, so to speak. And I appreciate everything that they've been doing. I know PPE was pretty rough there for a while. I think we're pretty set with that right now. And just to acknowledge everyone out there that's considered an essential worker, what a heartfelt thanks I have for every one of you and your families, because they too are sacrificing as well as yourselves. So with that, wish you well, stay healthy, stay safe, and thank you again.
All right, thank you very much, Councilwoman Maria Schmidt. Anyone else on council who'd like the floor to make a report? Mr.
Mayor?
Radke, was that you?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Radke.
Thank you. A couple of things. I want to commend everyone at home for staying in their homes and obeying the executive orders. You know, we've had a lot of compliance. I think that's why Sterling Heights has remained one of the not hot spots in the county. If you look at the countywide chart, we're directly in the middle. I think it's because people are really trying to do their best to stay home, and I appreciate that. I also want to thank our first responders who are working very hard day in and out to keep us all safe. And finally, I was hoping through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, he could tell the residents at home about how we've basically are taking care of our lawns and the ordinances around them right now. I know there's a lot of questions online about that.
Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Radke, yes, that's a very good question. There is some confusion about the governor's executive order, which actually is quite clear. If you're a landscaper, you are not considered an essential service, unfortunately, under the governor's order. I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's all in the spirit of trying to reduce the spread. So if you have your own lawnmower and your residential property, of course, you can go about mowing your property and taking care of your property. And you should do that, especially as the grass starts growing over the next couple of weeks. However, if you contract with a landscape company, as it stands right now, that you will not be able to get a landscaper out to mow your grass without being in violation of the governor's executive order. Now, myself and the city attorney think this will change over time. I think the governor will be somewhat pressured to allow some of that activity, assuming that social distancing can be honored. If you have an individual coming out to mow your grass and it's sort of a one-person team, you know, I think there's going to need to relax that some. But as it stands right now, that is not a permitted activity. I will say, with respect to city parks, for safety reasons, we are able to mow the city parks within reason, and we're able to maintain reducing visibility obstructions along major roadways on medians and rights of way. That doesn't mean we're going to be able to mow all of them. As it stands right now, we might be able to make a sweep or a band or two around the medians, for example, where there's the turnarounds to reduce visibility concerns. But beyond that, it's highly restrictive right now. So that's about the best I can tell you, Councilman Radke.
And the city is not going to be fining people for not cutting their lawns right now because of the emergency, correct?
Right. That's another good point that I should emphasize. We will not be enforcing the 6-inch rule. However, again, if you have your own equipment, you know, you're certainly encouraged to do that sort of work. But no, we will not. In fact, even though the enforcement starts on May 1st, we will not be doing that until we get through the crisis.
Wonderful. One final thing I have, looking at what Wisconsin is going through right now and the balloting this year, I'd like the city to investigate the cost of postage paid AV envelopes for our entire city. I want to make sure, even with the current crisis, that everyone has a right to vote come August. And I'm wondering what it would cost our city. So if you could find it out and report back to the city council, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Radke. Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Council, is there anyone else with any reports tonight?
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarco, go ahead.
thank you. First of all, I think we take for granted all of the work that our administration has done to get us this far. And certainly I appreciate all the hard work they're doing, and all of our directors that are working from home and keeping their staff together. So I truly appreciate that. And I certainly thank the residents that are following the stay at home requirement. And I think it would be helpful if we would reach out and help our neighbors. And we do it on a regular basis. But I think at this time, a phone call, anything that we might be able to help, maybe call them before you go to the grocery store to see if there's just something that you can pick up for them as well. And I know that it's appreciated. Other than that, as far as the cost of printing return envelopes for the absentee ballots, I think I'd like some numbers on that as well as to how many absentee ballots actually go out, how many are returned. Are there any complaints thus far from residents about the reason why they don't return them is because of postage? Because we do have other ways to do it, and I certainly do want everybody to have the right to vote. But I don't think postage is the reason that they don't vote or don't return their ballot. So I certainly would like more research in that. Having been through the 2008 crisis, that's pretty much where I am right now as far as what we can spend money on and what we should be spending money on. So before I think I would make a decision on this, I would certainly have to have all the numbers in place because we don't know in the next budget year how much we are going to be paying for this emergency. So, and that's really where I think my focus will be as far as what we have to do and what we have to change in the next budget year. And that's it. Just everybody stay home, stay healthy, and let's just keep up the good work that we're doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Zarko. Council, anyone else with any reports tonight? Okay, seeing none. Any new business or unfinished business? Seeing none, I guess I'll just make a few brief comments. I want to let the residents know out there that your city council, your city administration, your first responders, your police chiefs, fire chiefs, directors of every department has been working quite literally around the clock to make sure that as many of our city services can continue as possible without interruption, but in the safest way possible. We have sent employees home and we get reports nearly daily about the work that's going on. And I'm happy to report that a lot of work continues to go on. A lot of services continue to be provided for our residents despite this incredibly difficult and uncertain period of time that we're all going through. But we are mindful, first and foremost, about our employee safety and the safety of our community. And so we want to encourage you, as much as humanly possible, stay in your home. If you don't need to leave, please don't leave. And don't do it because I'm saying it. Don't do it because Mark Hackle said it. Don't do it because Governor Whitmer said it or President Trump said it. Do it because the doctors, the experts, and all of the people who have spent their life studying infectious disease have been urging us to do that. So when we all come together, we are going to get through this to the greatest extent possible. I know that the landscaping is a concern. I've heard from many residents about that, and I know I'll continue to hear from more as our grass continues to grow. Reach out to your neighbor across the street or across the fence. Call or text them if you can. If you know you have an elderly neighbor, if you see a neighbor's grass isn't getting cut, just go cut it. If you can do that, we are going to get through this, but we have to do a lot of these things together. I want to say I'm incredibly proud of the community. I've seen, whether it's our business community, whether it's our residents, whether it's our first responders, healthcare workers, hospitals, doctors, nurses, you name it. Everybody is coming together in a way that I really am given chills about. And I'm so incredibly proud of the work that everyone in this city's been doing. We're hoping to see light at the end of the tunnel. We've come a long way in the last 3 to 4 weeks. We've got a long way yet to go, but let's keep putting our head down, working hard, and we will get out of this, I promise you. So, Council, I want to thank you for participating tonight. I want to thank our IT department who have put in a lot of work to make this run as smoothly as possible. And I hope that it is running smoothly. And I hope that for the viewing audience at home, that you've been able to participate and watch this meeting just like any other. So with that, council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Koski, please proceed. Or I'm sorry, Mrs. Zarko, please proceed.
move to adjourn this council meeting on April the 7th.
It's been moved. Council, is there a second?
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Schmidt, do you second the motion?
Yes, I do.
Motion to adjourn has been moved and seconded. Ms. Riska, can we please have a roll call vote?
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Yanez,
Yes.
Mrs. Zarko,
Yes.
Mrs. Koski,
Yes.
Mr. Radke,
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt,
Yes.
and Mrs. Sarowski.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Riska. Motion to adjourn carries 7-0. Want to thank you all for participating in this meeting tonight. Thank you for watching at home. Please, we implore you, stay home, stay safe, save lives. God bless every one of you. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.